When I talk about independence, I'm not trying to say that we can all survive on our own as individuals. We are all part of a community, and communities depend on each other. But it's a mutual dependence. It's not one individual relying on everyone else to take care of them. It's a more equal relationship, and that's what we strive for, is that people with disabilities are full and equal participants in the community. We're all dependent upon one another for survival in this world, and we need to be. But we need to make sure that it's in an equal way. And I think if you look at the community as it is now versus what it was 20 years ago, before we had building codes that required accessibility, if you asked, a kid 20 years ago, do they know somebody with a disability? Chances are they'd say no. Now the kids do see other people with disabilities in the school. They see them in their community. They may be their friend or their neighbor. And the more opportunities that there are out there, the more that we become part of the fabric of the community. Otherwise, you're hidden away, you're separated, and people don't even know that you exist, so they can't possibly address your needs because they don't even know you're there. Well, that's the Independent Living Center does work with people in finding jobs, in trying to get supported employment. It's possible that he would be a candidate for what they call supported employment, where you get a job coach, and that job coach helps shadow you as an employee, helps train you, model behavior, teach you the job, be a support for you on the job so you can be successful in employment. There are different programs out there for individuals with disabilities depending on their needs. And certainly people with learning disabilities, there are many people with learning disabilities who are very successful in jobs. People who are deaf who are very successful in jobs, both in the corporate world and in the public sector and in not-for-profit world. And so there's many opportunities for him. And coming to an independent living center helps to open up those ideas. And you sit down and you brainstorm about what it is that you want to do and who's out there who might be able to, or what agency might be out there to provide some assistance.
What is your service as far as housing?
Right, the nature of our name, Independent Living Center, people often actually think we are a residence, but we're not. All of our programs are non-residential. They're community-based programs. And what we do in the area of housing is assist people in applying for Section 8 housing, find accessible housing, help them decide where they want to live. We don't actually operate any apartments. We'll provide advice to landlords on making their homes, making their buildings accessible. So we'll do architectural barrier consultation with landlords. And we maintain lists of available housing that we're familiar with. That doesn't mean that that's all of it that's out in the community. But housing is a very difficult issue. It's one of the bigger problems for people with disabilities is to find low-cost, affordable, accessible housing. And that's true in every community in the state.
Right, and also I would guess that transportation is a difficulty. Like driving and getting from here to there.
Right.
And how would one get a handle on something like that?
Well, in Columbia County, it's particularly difficult because we don't have public transportation except for in the city of Hudson. And so outside of the city of Hudson, if you don't drive a car, you're in trouble whether you're disabled or not. And there's very little service that's available to you. The center has tried to work with other organizations in the county to open up opportunities for transportation. So far, none of that has been very successful. And as I said, that's the same for seniors who don't drive, for other people who can't afford a car or don't have a car. It's a very difficult problem in rural communities. And Some rural communities have started to address those issues by trying to provide rural transportation. There's very little of it available in Columbia County. The center has a van that we can pick people up and bring them to the center if they've got an appointment and want to meet with somebody on staff, or we can bring staff out to them in the community. So that's what little we can do about transportation there. In Troy, where we have our main office, there is public transportation, and so the role that we play in public transportation is trying to educate consumers about the transportation, travel with them if they need some training or assistance in terms of using the public transportation, and we advocate for more accessibility to the public transportation system and for them to enforce the laws that exist. The Americans with Disabilities Act is very specific about providing accessible transportation where public transportation is provided. That's the problem. If it's not provided, then there's no requirement to do it. And so the rural areas, it's very difficult.